Hello and welcome to a webinar on cloud computing with Tiarnan O'Kelly and Conor McAleer. So I think we just better start in with brief introductions of each other. Do you want to like to go first, Tiarnan?
Yeah, so as Connor said, my name's Tiarnan. I'm working as an IDT advisor on the Made Smarter team. My background's in industrial automation, in particular with robotics. Before this role, I was previously working in the MTC as a robotics engineer.
My name's Conor McAleer, as I've already said at the beginning. I'm a digital transformation specialist at Made Smarter. So we essentially help people identify the technologies that could help their business specifically. Instead of doing a generic diagnosis, you actually get bespoke information. Then we pass it over to people like Tiarnan to push it over the line and actually get that project up and running. My background at university was actually in business management, and then I did a master's in digital technologies, specifically talking about 3D printing. So this really does lend into what I've studied over the years, and combine it with the business management could really help. So should we get started? Going into it?
Yeah, let's go.
Right. So cloud computing, there's a lot of information out there about cloud computing because it's been around for quite a while now, but the complicated words that come up with it really do not help with its definition. So as you can see, this person sat down there is probably representing the average person looking at cloud computing, all these different words and coming around with it. But what we want to do today is debunk the idea that it is too complex and it's very difficult to get into, because the simplicity of cloud computing really does stem to an analogy that we looked into is just it's essentially looking at increasing your computing power, and you don't need the physical hardware servers at your premises to be able to access this increased computing power. So traditionally you have a server at your premises under a controlled temperature environment to make sure that it runs smoothly. But if you want to increase that computing power, then you have to buy additional power. So this is really giving people the opportunity to be able to connect and share data smoothly online and increase their computing power with greater ease than they ever have before.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Tiarnan, at all?
Yeah, it's just, as Connor is just trying to make clear, people often get intimidated by terms like cloud computing, as they don't really know what it is, or they find it intimidating because they can't understand it. But it's relatively simple when explained properly. It's essentially just, instead of servers in your office, you access servers that are outside of your office, and you pay for that service. And that's all it is, really. And then there's a variety of benefits and different features you can do with it as well.
Yeah, as we will go through in this presentation, as you can see. Right, so next one, there's 3 different service models offered through cloud computing. And this really does determine on how much control you want over your IT infrastructure. So the first one is probably the most common, is talking about software as a service. So that really lends into the provider, the cloud platform provider. So say if it's Microsoft, Google, IBM, there's loads out there, but they offer you their applications, their software through normally a thin client interface, such as a browser, that's what the software is. So they offer you all the things that they're developing. And then infrastructure is a little bit more to that. So they offer you the operating systems and the application, so not just a thin client interface. And then the last one is if you want more control over your IT infrastructure, because this does actually require you to have good knowledge and expert knowledge, I would say, in requiring programming languages, and you've got to start developing your own infrastructure and service. So it's just dependent on what your company wants and how much control they want over there. But each one of them you can explore afterwards, and we'll go into it. But we don't want to go into too much depth here. We prefer to give a simple overview, and then you can start running with it. All right, so talking about cloud computing and the general benefits that come along with it. So talking about lower costs, scalability, reliability and availability, unlimited storage, and collaboration. There are more benefits associated with cloud computing, but these are the most frequently found ones that we've seen online, and the benefits that people really do benefit from. So we will go into more depth about each 5 of these to give you a better idea of what's actually happening. So first of all, talking about lower costs, one big thing is barriers to entry. So when you're competing against these multinational corporations that have computing power through their ears, you can actually compete with them now because you've got, as Tiarnan mentioned before, a server farm that you can access, and you can start entering these markets without investing into heavy, large investments into software and hardware, because you can access this software and the hardware straight away from a different location. And that also lends into the maintenance costs that are associated with both the hardware and the software, because obviously if it's not on your premises and it's not actually yours to control and maintain, then it's maintained by the corporation that's offering you the service. Yeah. Anything you'd like to go for in there, Tim?
I think what Connor was saying as well is you get to compete with much larger corporations. You get to get a service that's much more akin to what they were receiving before. And on top of that, it's a service that you don't have to maintain. So by paying for it, it means that the company that you're paying to are maintaining, updating, and improving the system all the time. So you don't need to do that yourself. And the investment that you make in, say, a large server in your office will go out of date eventually, but this service won't. On top of that, without a server in your office, it's quite portable, so you don't need to worry about space being taken up or moving premises. It's just a service you access. And then the final one is that it's continually. I recently had a conversation with someone who was using a hard drive every 2 weeks, fortnightly, to download all the information off of his main computers as a means of backup, which is just a laborious process. It doesn't need to be doesn't need to be done anymore. So by using something like this, you can have an auto backup that just every day, every hour, can just update the computer.
Yeah, and just to add on that as well, in terms of continuity, just in case, unfortunately, it does happen, if that hard drive was stolen or damaged, or the premises itself, which was holding the servers, happened to come down, then you would have to replace that, and that could be invaluable information on there. But if you have it on the cloud, then continuity, if somebody has the laptop stolen, they can get back to work the next day. All they need to do is replace it with a laptop because they've got everything online. Yeah,
improves resilience.
Yes, exactly.
Data structures.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So scalability is a massive one for cloud computing, as we've alluded to in the previous slides. Is you actually have an opportunity to pay for your service to what your business needs are. So it's not just going, oh, everybody's got these servers. It's looking at your internal challenges and aspirations for your business, and you can pick and choose exactly how you want to scale. So it's a more manageable growth going forward with it. And there's a big thing talking about, as we said in the previous slide, it's entering new markets. So you can do this by having the opportunity to scale at a manageable rates. And there's also the flip side of this that sometimes isn't mentioned, is that if you happen to initially invest into going to a little bit higher scalability, you can also scale down. So according to the demands that you're experiencing at the current time. And this could actually be anticipatory demand as well. So say if you're a seasonal company, that's sun cream or something like that, you know that your sales are probably going to go down during the winter period. You can scale down the operations without selling on the hardware servers that you would have to do before to be able to do that. You can pay for what you use.
Yeah, and in total, it allows you to respond quicker to a market through having less inertia, less infrastructure inertia. It's just something you access, you pay for more and you get more. And that just makes it makes unpredictable fluctuations in demand easier to match. And again, improves your resilience.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right, so collaboration. collaboration, I think anybody who's involved in cloud computing is fully aware about, is that it gives you an opportunity to be able to work on a project with all your different staff at the same time, and they don't need to be situated in the same location. So, for example, Tiarnan and I worked on this PowerPoint together, and we did it simultaneously on the same thing because we had the opportunity to be able to do that without sending files back and forth.
Yeah,
you can do that.
And losing somewhere, and then losing data.
Exactly.
Repeating work. Yeah, it makes it easier.
Because there's nothing more frustrating knowing that you've done so much work and then you've lost it, and you have to repeat that work again to be able to continue with it.
And I mean, in a time like this as well, it's never been more demanded, and being able to collaborate remotely.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's a point that you mentioned the other day, Tim, about tracking and ensuring workers are getting on with the work, or they need some help in certain aspects.
Yeah, part of that remote thing as well. Just the fact that everyone's far from each other, it's hard to keep track of what people are doing. Not in a helicopter fashion, but you'd like to know what other people are doing so that you can, where you have to work with them, or what parts of the work package you need to complete. How far it's getting along. And there's many softwares that we'll go through later that just help people do that. It just facilitates it better.
Exactly. That you can identify points where people may be struggling, and you can help them. But without cloud computing, that person might just feel alone, that the only person suffering from that problem. And then you realize when you start collaborating that it's a problem that needs addressing, which is an impediment to everything that you're trying to do. Yeah.
Improves communication overall.
Exactly. Yeah. So reliability and availability is as this nice little cloud is saying, it's pay for what you use. Is as we mentioned, that it's you accessing server farms that are run by massive corporations that allow for increased computing power. They are maintaining it, and it's not your responsibility to do so. So they are actually making sure that these are completely up to date, up to spec, and continuously running. So it gives you 24/7 access to all the information and data that you need to be able to make informed decisions or make some other adjustments to your work. It's just really available for anything that you need. And regular updates is a big thing as well. Would you like to talk about that a little bit, Tiarnan?
Yeah. I guess as we mentioned before, when you're paying for this service, it's you're paying for both the service of using it, but also for the maintenance of it. So you'd have that's not something that you can. That's not something that you need to worry about, and it just takes that. Pardon me. It takes that extra job off your hands. You get a better service as a result from it. On top of that, through that, the latest software is always available to you, so it won't go out of date. In terms of your investment, won't go out of date. And it just makes things moving forward easier. So if your systems are always up to date, it means that any new software that comes out that's not backwards integratable with older stuff is still accessible to you. A lot of the problems that we've come across are people who look to update one part of their factory and then slowly realize that it's just a chain of effect. It's a chain effect where they've got to almost start from the ground up again. Because everything's based off of I guess almost sometimes in 1990s or 1995 technology, and that's the infrastructure, and it just means that it's very difficult for them and expensive. But with this, it's being constantly updated, and you won't come across that kind of issue.
Yeah, exactly. And one big thing about it being constantly updated and the most up-to-date software available on the market is that in terms of cybersecurity, which is a big thing, because once you open this door to all these possibilities, you are opening the door to people maybe breaching into this. But if you go into cloud computing and you choose the right cloud computing platform, then they have really high priority on cybersecurity. So you have better security with them than you would do maybe with your own IT department, because they are devoted in keeping your data secure.
Yeah, and they're responsible for it as well.
Exactly.
And they're accountable for it. So once again, remove some of the responsibilities you have in the company.
And unlimited storage, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
Kind of lends into it self-explanatory. It's just if you want more storage, you can purchase more storage. But in general, with the baseline storage for cloud computing is more than helpful for any company starting with it.
Yeah, it comes back to again just the modularity and the fact it can evolve with you.
Exactly.
As a service instead of a big server in the back of your office that you eventually outgrow and then need to replace, and spend lots of money doing so.
Yeah, it's great. It's just greater flexibility, which you definitely need in today's climate. All right, so some examples. Going into it. Tiarnan, do you want to?
I'll go through this.
Yeah.
So I've kind of concentrated on 6 areas. So remote computing power, backup and recovery, file sharing or collaborative work, social apps, remote working of systems and data, and communications media.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just the idea of this is sort of just as Connor started, he said that part of this is to try and break down what seems like a complicated subject into to rationalize it into actual applications that you can leverage to use in your own business. So, and this part of it is to show you just a few technologies that for you to investigate after that might be useful to you.
Yeah, and one of the things as well that you might not even be aware that you're using cloud computing at this current moment, and you could you could currently just be using cloud computing, but you're not using it to its full potential. So Tiarnan's going to go through a few examples where you might be able to increase how useful it is for you.
So we'll start with backup and recovery. These are 4 companies that I just kind of outlined that provide backup and recovery. Backup and recovery is essentially that situation I gave with one of the SMEs we were dealing with, where the MD was at the end of every 2 weeks going around to every computer and downloading all the data, so that in case there was a fire or a break-in, he didn't lose his historical data. Backup and recovery can be supplied by companies. It's essentially just it could be anything up to every hour, every week, or every day, where your computers automatically upload all of your data to the cloud, and your data is stored there and saved. So file sharing and collaborative work, this is the huge one. This is possibly the one that people can most immediately find useful to them. So I think everyone probably has been exposed to stuff like Dropbox. There's other companies out there such as Google Drive, which is the middle icon, and WeTransfer. So they're just basically files like Connor and I would be working on in this PowerPoint, where you can share easily stuff back and forth and work collaboratively on it. But this technology doesn't stop at just file sharing or collaborative file working. There's other stuff like Trello. Trello is a pretty cool technology. We use it personally in our company, and it's a good project management tool. And we use it pretty much for every stage of the project, from end to end, from bringing people in out to grants or advice that we give to them. It's a pretty useful tool that can be worked on by several people. Mural and Asana are collaborative working tools, so they're useful for brainstorming. So if you think about the opportunities that you could have in the office on a normal basis, where 2 or 3 people get into a discussion, you might bring a whiteboard up, start putting post notes on that whiteboard, brainstorming for an idea or a project or different requirements that might be involved. That's all removed currently on the basis that that you don't have that whiteboard and those people don't have that contact. Mural and Asana are pretty cool applications we've used before, that helps facilitate that to some degree. So you call up 3 people, upload this app, and then 3 people can work on what's essentially a digital whiteboard, spitballing ideas. Yeah,
because in this current environment, it's a perfect opportunity to look at your own internal processes and see how you communicate. So you can benefit from the opportunity to look at these things. Like Trello, like you said, just giving transparency and visibility on people's work. And if people want to flag up something that they're having problems with, you can do it quite easily, and able to help, and it all pulls together as one team instead of just individuals coming together at the end of the month.
Exactly. Yeah. So social apps is something that probably people think of Facebook when they think of the social platforms, but the best way of describing that it is actually, in fact, a professional platform as well is if you looked at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is essentially a social network just for professional people. But there's much more just past Facebook and LinkedIn. And there's chat apps. So there's like professional WhatsApps, and Slack is one. I've used Slack previously in other companies and in university, and it's a really useful app. I've seen SMEs adopt it in their management companies, and it's a really useful app to separate conversations into topics and create groups within the company. Now, that's something that you can use for free. If my memory serves me correctly, up to 20 people. So it's something that you could pretty much adapt very quickly today. Google Hangouts is another one of them that integrates directly into Monday.com. It's another chat app that's kind of linked into some form of project management as well. Click, Rocket Chat, or just other companies down it. I advise people definitely look into these just for WhatsApps, because I know personally email chains that are segmented and all over the place can sometimes be hard to find what the latest topic or update on a project is. And these apps kind of confine them into a very nice user interface that you can use on both your computer and your phone.
Yeah. And I think a key point that you just said at the beginning is talking about Slack specifically, saying that it's free to enter. A lot of these things that we're showing right now do have a free entry level, so you can trial them to see if they work for your company. It's not investing all this money and then finding out it doesn't work for you later. You can trial it out. So you can do this almost straight away.
It's not a huge investment on your side. It's only a small bit of time just adapting the app. And exactly, something like Slack, you can roll it out in between say the top 3 management people and see if it works, and then slowly take people on as it goes on.
Exactly. You can do it incremental.
Yeah, exactly. So remote working of systems and data, something that I've personally found working with companies now is the idea of being able to access and see your data is more important now than ever was before. And apps like Power BI, which is a Microsoft application, or bespoke and off-the-shelf ERP systems are ideal for that. So what I mean by seeing remote working of systems and data is essentially, imagine being able to open your phone and see, I think I used the example of sales before, see what position a sale is in, what quantity is, who's responsible for it, and what stage it is in the process, and just remotely on your phone. And you can do that with projects as well. So you'll get reports on the project's progress, spends, and updates on a daily basis if you have the system organized like that. This does require, it's a bit less accessible than our previous slides, such as chat apps, as it does require some infrastructure developed around your systems and data capture. But it's something that I think people should definitely be looking into, especially in the downtime and the reduced volume some people might have at the moment. It's definitely something they should look into, and because it's extremely valuable.
Yeah, it's picking up on making data-driven decisions instead of just taking a stab in the dark. You've got this information that you can start improving continuously.
Yeah.
Okay, communications, well.
Yeah, communications media. So this one's obvious. I just thought we thought we definitely included in case just to cover the topic. But communications media now more important than ever. Video calling to people. It's not limited to Teams, Zoom, and Skype. But these are just the 3 main providers at the moment. You can use stuff like Livestorm that we're currently recording this on as well. And they're just very useful applications for communicating.
Yeah. Cool. It is, like we've said, it's massively beneficial for people to get onto cloud computing now to level out the playing field for these massive corporations. But before people do it, they need to make sure that they consider a few things to ensure that they get the best possible outcome from adopting this technology. So it's just little things like the readiness from your business's perspective. So when I was alluding to at the beginning, the 3 different models that you could potentially choose, how ready is your company safety wanting to get more control of the IT infrastructure? Did he have the opportunity to use platform as a service and start doing the program language? If not, then go for software or infrastructure.
Yeah.
And it's just looking how far you integrate, just making sure that it deals with your business's perspective and not just the general statistics that are out there. You really got to look at your business. And that comes in with upskilling your workforce as well. So driving everybody together as one cohesive unit, you need to make sure that people are upskilled in the relevant areas and you can get the best possible outcomes. And as I've mentioned in the first point, is control over your ICT systems. How much control do you want over it? Some people want more control, some people want less. Some people are indifferent about it. It's just what you want from it. The availability of the data, do you want it 24/7? Do you want it within certain working hours? It's just things that you need to look into. And one big thing that we need to make sure that we put emphasis on is cybersecurity, is being proactive instead of reactive. Because if you make sure that you've got a watertight cybersecurity element to your strategy from the beginning, then you're significantly less likely to get breached. But if you do as a reaction, it can be a big stint in your progression as a company. But don't want that to put you off cloud computing at all, because cloud computing is an excellent thing. It's just we don't want to just send you down a route without telling you some things that needs to be considered before making sure that you adopt it properly. Yep.
Yeah.
And as we've been talking about, there's plenty of cloud computing providers out there. So from Google, Amazon, Cloudways, Salesforce, all of them offering different elements that could be more bespoke towards your company. It's just doing the relevant research and finding out which one would be best suited for your needs.
Yeah.
And so there's some additional links here. Some of them are just quick videos because I understand that people aren't going to be going through pages and pages of material to be able to read out these different things. I personally learn quite a bit from watching these videos. So there's that. And then if you want to go in more depth, there's some journal articles about how to successfully adopt cloud computing or identifying potential cloud security risks. There's that.
Rabbit hole to investigate.
Yes. It's just things that you can do after this. So even if you haven't gained anything particularly from this presentation, there's links there. And if there's anything that rised up during this that you think, might need a little bit more information on, please register for free for a personalized assessment on our website at madesmarter.com.uk. So it gives you an opportunity to speak to somebody like me or Tiarnan going down. It's just getting a little bit more specialized, impartial advice, which is a big thing coming out of it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that closes everything up. I think we've hit all the points we want. Hopefully we've mystified cloud security for you. Looks like you might have remembered something, Connor.
Yeah, I was just didn't mean to interrupt at all. It's just there's one thing as well that we've recently got going is the LinkedIn forum, which gives people an opportunity to exchange their experiences, their knowledge, and their ideas in a nice community online. So it's using things like we just mentioned before online and learning from each other and trying to share the problems.
Yeah. And that's a community that's it's just for SMEs, so there won't be anyone trying to sell anything on that.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a safe space for you to share your problems without being trying to upsell or upsold anything.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, as Taylor was saying, I hope we demystified it in some way, in some capacity. And feel free to please get in touch with us about anything else that you might be thinking about.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Right.
Cheers, Taylor.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya.